Paracosm. And Paracosm is a word in pseudopsychology to talk about the phenomenon of a person creating an imaginary world in their head that they use to cope with trauma. So I did some reading on this subject, and I found it really fascinating, and I wrote this poem kind of to use it as a metaphor, but also kind of to call people who practice this out of the woodwork so I can talk to you. That's not as scary as I just made it sound. But I'll just say the poem. Okay. Were you ever a universe? On that nighttime line between life and sleep, did you ever hover? If your mind is an ocean, did you ever fill it with land and climb ashore from a shipwrecked reality, safe from the tides at last? How many secret countries did you create? We all get battered and bruised and lonely. Hell, the lonely hurts the most. And if every man's an island, they can't all be deserted. Half the people you meet have rivers for veins and a landscape for bones and stars etched into the underside of their skull with a heartbeat strong enough for populations and more lonely than you'll ever find echoing beneath the ocean. And we're scared of each other. There's a pause between the things we say and the things we want to say, and there's an eon between that and the things we need to say. You spend a decade screaming just to find your voice. Now that you have it, you don't speak up because we're scared of each other. Playgrounds are war fields, and classrooms refugee camps, and sometimes home isn't home enough, so you carry home inside you. This world won't give you an inch without a fight, so you fight to make your inch a world. But my God, how many mountains will you build out of grudges and valleys out of regrets? Yeah, maybe the forests and the cities were built out of love, but let's be honest, could they have grown at all if that love could have settled out here? You argue that Atlas never complained once the earth was spinning easy on his shoulder, and he never dropped us either, because who would care about poor Atlas then? And I understand. There's a comfort in your homemade world, and a comfort in the pain you've grown to love, and I understand that you're scared, but listen, you were never alone. In the dark, in your sleep, even in the graveyards, you were never alone. The Big Bang sent a million fragments of creation across the void, and that collision ignited eternity. They say that force makes the galaxies spin away from each other with all the silence and the lonely in between, but gravity has to take hold someday. And someday they'll draw closer again, and stars will collide with stars, and the planets will mingle together. Maybe Mars is 55 million kilometers away, but we are already close enough to reach out and touch each other, so here is my hand. From one universe to another, don't be afraid.